When the bulldozers showed up at 7 a.m., the sleepy cul-de-sac of Magnolia Pines trembled awake to the roar of engines and the splatter of debris. Neighbors poked their heads out in confusion and horror as a perfectly intact ranch-style home, white porch, flower beds in bloom and all, was reduced to rubble by order of the Homeowners Association. The house belonged to Maya Trent. To most neighbors, Maya was a quiet, polite woman in her late 30s who worked long hours and kept her lawn immaculate. No one knew exactly what she did for a living. Some said law firm, others thought real estate. No one guessed she was a senior field agent for the Department of Justice's Public Corruption Task Force. Maya had been on an undercover assignment in Virginia for the last 2 months. Before leaving, she submitted the proper forms to the HOA, notifying them of her temporary absence and arranging for weekly landscaping. She even hired a local teen, Austin, to water her plants and ensure everything looked lived in. But a newly elected HOA board, eager to flex their authority, claimed the property looked abandoned, citing an uncollected newspaper and a tiny crack in the sidewalk as violations. Despite no legal foreclosure or due process, the board, led by a power-hungry president named Charlene Dobbins, pushed through a vote in a closed-door meeting to condemn the property. Charlene, a retired librarian with a taste for authoritarian control, had clashed with Maya months earlier when Maya questioned budget discrepancies during a board meeting. The demolition happened so fast, Austin didn't have time to reach Maya. He called her the minute he saw the bulldozers, his voice trembling. Maya, still in Virginia, was on a surveillance operation when her phone buzzed. One look at the photo Austin sent, her porch torn off, her swing set mangled, was enough. She didn't panic. She packed. 48 hours later, Maya stood on the leveled dirt that used to be her home. Her credentials hung from her neck. She wasn't wearing a business suit. She wore her field gear, boots, tactical pants, and a windbreaker emblazoned with the DOJ seal. The HOA board had gathered nearby to explain what they still called a necessary action. Maya held up her badge. "I'm Special Agent Maya Trent, DOJ Public Corruption Division, and this neighborhood just became my jurisdiction." Charlene tried to bluster. "That badge doesn't mean you can intimidate us." "I'm not here to intimidate," Maya said, calm and direct. "I'm here to investigate. You authorized the destruction of private property with no court order, no proper inspections, and no chance for rebuttal. That's fraud, conspiracy, and abuse of power." Within days, subpoenas landed on every board member's doorstep. Charlene's smirk vanished when federal auditors exposed that she had embezzled over $40,000 from HOA funds, funneling them into her daughter's boutique candle business. Another board member had falsified maintenance records to award contracts to his brother's construction company, one that did the bulldozing. Maya didn't stop there. She contacted local media and shared everything. The story of a federal agent's home being unlawfully demolished by a corrupt HOA exploded nationwide. Community outrage followed. 3 board members were indicted. The rest resigned under pressure. The HOA was forced to pay for full reconstruction of Maya's home, down to the original vintage porch swing. Charlene was convicted and sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. As for Maya, she moved back into her newly rebuilt home 6 months later, where neighbors greeted her with cautious respect. No one ever questioned what she did for a living again.